I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. You know, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Dave? Dave Flynn?
On the radio!
Hold on to your butts.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for pushing play and tuning in to Dave Flynn on the radio. This is Dave Flynn, and you're listening to blogcast number 1 in an experiment that we'll be running for the next few months, and at least through the end of the year, hopefully, if all goes well, much longer. But it's the number 1 request that I get from readers of the blog at Win with Flynn, where they say, Dave, the blog is great, and I'm glad you're doing it, but what I'd really, really like is if you'd read it to me. And so we're going to give that a shot. A few asks from you. This is a new skill, and as it turns out, reading into a microphone with nobody around is a skill, and I'll be working on it, but have some grace with me in the early days as we're working through equipment and levels and software and hosting, all that fun stuff. So keep tuning in. Let me know how it's going. You can send your feedback in. I'd love to hear it. But the goal is just to make it easy and fun, just a new way to digest the information and the ideas coming out of the blog. So without further delay, we'll jump into the show. We make rock and roll. When a journalist pointed out that AC/DC had made the same record over and over 10 times, Angus Young fired back. That's a dirty lie. We've made the same record 11 times. A friend of mine tells a version of that story, maybe a better version, and it's one of my favorites. The truth is, Angus told different versions too, for each subsequent release. He was consistent in more ways than one. All those versions of the story capture the same spirit, owning your identity instead of apologizing for it. And it highlights something our culture gets wrong about success and creativity. We're living through an era obsessed with reinvention, with novelty. There's something alluring about growth, about the new, about change for the sake of change. But this relentless pressure to transform overlooks a powerful path forward. Figure out what you're good at, identify what you enjoy, and hang on for dear life. Think about the artists we celebrate for their creative evolution. Bob Dylan comes to mind, but when he went electric, folk purists booed him off stage at Newport. The times they were a-changin', and Dylan was changing too. But Dylan was a Rolling Stone. He was restless, never happy with an album or a show. He said his friend Jerry Garcia heard where the music should go better than he did. The Dead did a lot of my songs, Dylan said, and we'd just take the whole arrangement. Garcia could hear the song that was buried there. Dylan was searching for his sound the whole way through, and he kept right on searching, through different collaborators and backing bands, never really finding it. AC/DC identified their sound clearly, early, lucky bastards, and when Garcia heard If You Want Blood, he didn't say a damn thing. It's the same band. AC/DC took a different approach entirely. When people criticized their consistency, Malcolm Young, Angus's brother and the band's longtime rhythm guitarist, used to say, yeah, it's the same band. Sgt. Pepper was not coming out of these sessions. More important than keeping up with the musical Joneses, they wanted to have a distinct sound. As you heard it, they wanted you to know it was AC/DC. Like the Rolling Stones, a band that is instantly recognizable because, well, Mick sounds like Mick. They perfected their approach rather than chasing something new. AC/DC wanted to have an identity. Catchy, turn it up all the way rock and roll. But also, that new album was going to have 10, maybe 11 tracks and run a tight 42 minutes. Consistent. When their legendary singer Bon Scott died in 1980, they could have used it as a reason to completely reinvent themselves. Instead, new singer Brian Johnson studied the existing catalog, learned to fit seamlessly into what they'd built, and the result was Back in Black, one of the best-selling rock albums of all time. Producer Rick Rubin, who's worked with everyone from Johnny Cash to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, gets what AC/DC accomplished. He once called Highway to Hell the most natural-sounding rock record ever. That word natural is the key. AC/DC's consistency isn't formulaic or lazy. Well, maybe it's a little lazy, but it's authentic, and they represent something increasingly rare, a commitment to an idea, executed at the highest level. A Coke and a Smile. Jerry Seinfeld has taken a similar path in comedy. He's still performing jokes from the 1970s. spending decades refining and perfecting, rather than abandoning material for whatever's trendy. In a way, it's what a lot of bands do. Hit the road every summer, play the hits. Critics say Seinfeld's comedy hasn't evolved, but Seinfeld sees himself as a craftsman. The whole object of comedy is to be yourself, he said, and the closer you get to that, the funnier you will be. Maybe Seinfeld hasn't changed, but he's still pretty damn funny. Malcolm Young and AC/DC were after the same thing, something natural. They found their sound and didn't let anyone talk them out of it. And people will try to talk you out of it. They're called critics and friends, family even. But Angus once said, for most groups, progress means disappearing up your own arsehole. The critic you need to watch for is the one holding the pick. Dealing with criticism is a common scenario, one that Eddie Murphy captures in his comedy special Raw. In the bit, he's getting lectured by Bill Cosby of all people about his foul language. Murphy calls his friend Richard Pryor for advice. Pryor asks, do people laugh when you say what you say? Murphy says, yeah. Do you get paid? Yeah. Well, Pryor says, tell Bill to have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. Pryor's advice cuts straight to what matters. If what you're doing is natural, if it's working, don't let a journalist or even Bill Cosby talk you out of it. Charlie Munger captures it clearly. The fundamental algorithm of life, repeat what works. Pryor would agree. Cut her in. The best Twitter bio I ever saw belonged to Jim Abbott. Cut her in. That's it. 2 words that covered a pitching career. It perfectly captures the idea of being known for one thing and one thing only. It was aspirational, of course. Abbott was known for something else. He was born without a right hand, and with just his left. He was Player of the Year in high school, Player of the Year in college, won a gold medal, was drafted, skipped the minors altogether, and threw a no-hitter. Having that one thing that defines you can be clarifying. It can help you focus and achieve. Abbott had the focus, but he didn't have the best cutter. That honor goes to Mariano Rivera. I hate the Yankees, and during his playing days, I hated Rivera. Maybe I still do. Cheering for clothing, right? The man threw a cut fastball 90% of the time and became the greatest closer in baseball history. Batters knew exactly what was coming. No bag of tricks, no deception. It looked just like any other fastball, but with a bit of late movement, breaking in towards the batter's hands. That cut fastball missed barrels at a ridiculous rate. 652 saves, a 2.21 ERA, and the first unanimous inductee to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Here's a fun fact. More men have allegedly walked on the moon, 12, than scored against Rivera in the postseason, 11. Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. Rivera was to be feared, and his approach will work anywhere. What we do best. In a world that constantly demands we prove our relevance, there's something very rock and roll about AC/DC's perspective, not just their music. Knowing who you are, what you do well, and refusing to apologize for it. When we started, we weren't reinventing the wheel, Angus said. This is what we do best. We make rock and roll. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it. We gotta go. This is great.